What?
Okay, so we're now recording, everyone. And it looks like a lot of our participants are right on time this morning, which is great because we do have a jam-packed schedule, as Michael was indicating. So we've got all our speakers as well, and people will continue to come on in the next few minutes, but we definitely want to get started because we do have such a great schedule. So first of all, I just want to welcome everyone to the First Friday Forum. Our three guests today are Superintendent Michael Burke. He's Palm Beach County Superintendent of Schools. We're going to hear from Dino Maniotis, and he's the tax roll coordinator for the Palm Beach County property appraiser. Very timely information as well. And last but not least, we're going to hear from our new city manager, Terrence Moore. And both Michael Burke and Terrence Moore have been on the job about a month. So they've had a huge undertaking, but they have a lot of really important information to impart to everyone. So I'm going to just dive in and get started, and we'll hear from our first guest. So Superintendent Michael Burke, we've got you on the line. We'd love to hear from you. We'll probably have a lot of questions. Everyone's going to probably want to ask about the mask mandates and how you're handling that, how COVID's been affecting everyone. How did the school year start? Over to you, Michael. Go ahead.
Well, yes, good morning. And first, I'd just like to thank the city of Delray. The school board has always enjoyed a lot of support from Delray, whether it be the city and the municipal leaders or the chamber or the Ted Hoskinson's Roots and Wings Foundation. And I know you've got your own education committee there as part of the city that I've met with before. So thank you for all that. We're wrapping up our fourth week of school, and I'm a little in the job, a little over a month. First month's got to be the toughest, I think, right, Terrence? But it's going well. And I wanted to start with kind of what's really been nice about this school year. The good news, getting out into our schools and seeing our kids and our teachers, people are genuinely just happy to be back on campus and to be together. There's a lot of excitement. I think there's a greater sense of appreciation for all that comes with school. After being pulled away and into distance learning, I think the kids are really seeing kind of the benefits of being on the campus, and they appreciate it. And the teachers are happy to see them. One of the challenges with that, for about 35% of our students, this is the first time they've been on campus in over 17 months. So we were kind of concerned about, how they were doing on a social emotional level. Thanks to our referendum in 2018, we have a behavioral health specialist on every campus. And we've also got tiered supports where we contract with groups around around the county, mental health organizations. We've got the resources now. And that was kind of job one, is to check in on the kids and make sure they're doing okay on the social emotional level. And once make sure if they need any support, we get that to them, and then really start digging in to catching up on the unfinished learning, both academic and social emotional. So that's the job, and we're going to be working at that for the next 3 years. Fortunately, we have some federal stimulus money that's really going to help us with that. Our district's going to have over $500 million over the next 3 years to deal with the challenges brought on by the pandemic. So that's kind of nice. Usually we're not in that position. Normally, we have very lean budgets from year to year. Our operating budget, which pays for the day-to-day costs and teacher salaries and all that, is still very lean. This year in the legislature, they basically kind of pointed to the federal money and said, you districts have got plenty of cash. You don't really need our help. And that's true to some extent, but the federal money is really supplemental, and is to do these special things to deal with COVID and to catch up and meet the needs of our kids. The tough part of this school year has been the Delta variant. We had really hoped when we finished last school year, positivity rate was below 5%. Everything was trending in the right direction. People were getting vaccinated. So we were really hoping to have this close to a normal school year as possible. But what we've seen in just 4 weeks of school, we've got about over 3,000 cases of COVID in our schools. And last year, the entire school year, we had about 3,800. So the transmission level of this Delta variant it's definitely, it's spreading very fast. It's highly contagious, and that's been our challenge. So we are working closely with the Department of Health. When we have a positive case on campus, we have a school nurse, thanks to the healthcare district, that's able to test students that appear to be symptomatic, and we're working through those cases. The tough part has been, with schools at full capacity, the social distancing is almost non-existent, right? We try for 3 feet, but we can't guarantee that. And so when one student tests positive, it really can have a big impact as far as the number of kids we've sent home to be safe. So we've sent home, like right now we have over 4,000 students at home. That's out of a total population of about 167,000, but it's still, that's one of the things I'm struggling with. I feel like we're sending home an inordinate amount of students, and I'm trying to get more data on all these students we're sending home, how many actually go on to test positive. And I suspect it's a relatively small number. So we're working on that. We're working on getting those kids resources. We're sending their work home with them. Our teachers are using some of the tools we used last year for distance learning. I'm meeting with our union leaders to try to get more support for our students, having those teachers record lessons or turn their cameras on and send lessons home with those students. So that's kind of on the challenging side, I guess, still dealing with this COVID. I did want to talk, you had some questions. So you had asked about how are we tackling the learning loss? Well, we started last spring and we ramped up a tutorial program. I will tell you, we've got the resources, we put the money out into our schools. And one of the things I found was that teachers were kind of had their hands full with the regular school day. And teachers really, we had trouble getting teachers willing to kind of take on additional work. So that's one of the things I'll be addressing with the union. I think we're gonna have to increase the rate of pay that we pay our teachers to do these tutorial programs, because they're tired, right? And it's got to be worth their while, I think, to work those extra hours. We did have a much larger summer program this past summer, and it's going to get bigger even next summer, and will continue thanks to the federal dollars for the next 3 years, because I think we're just going to need as much additional time to catch up as possible. We've put about 350 specialized teaching positions out there into our schools, and we're working through filling all those positions. But these are positions like reading recovery. There are algebra specialists that will go in and help kids that are maybe struggling with algebra. There's graduation coaches that can go in. We've got some high school kids that had to jump into the workforce to help support their family, and they may just be a few credits shy of graduation. So we want to make sure we get them to the finish line. And we also, we've got more plans to come. We've got, again, the benefit of these federal dollars. So we're developing what we call our student academic support plan, and we're going to probably have to tailor that a little bit and modify as we go to see what's really working, having the biggest impact with our students. One of the things that was exciting on the first day of school, I went to the new expanded Plumosa School of the Arts. So we expanded that campus, and that opened up, the first day of school with the 6th through 8th grade art center. And that's really turned out to be a beautiful campus. So that was something exciting in Delray. We've got some more work to do there, as we go through our sales tax projects. So again, the community support, I've met with, I think, your group before in the past when I'm coming around trying to pitch the referendums. And I just want to say thank you for that, because in Florida, education funding per student has fallen over the last decade. We used to be about 36 in the country. We're now 46. And here in Palm Beach, we're beating those stats a little bit because of the generosity of our local voters. We had that penny sales tax that we share with the county and cities on our construction and maintenance side of the house. And then on the operating side, we have that 1 mil property tax levy, which is allowing us to pay for about 750 fine arts and choice teachers. It's allowed us to double the size of our police department, to add the mental health workers, and to also boost the salary of our teachers significantly. We have those teacher retention supplements where a teacher with 5 years gets a $5,000 supplement, 10 years, they get 10,000. So those have been really critical to our success, and I appreciate this time. I'm happy to open it up for any questions.
Okay, yeah, we sent you some pre-prepared questions. So, am I
Okay.
frozen? Oh, can you hear me? Because I'm frozen here.
Yes, I can hear you. And
Okay,
I had those questions. I was trying to touch on them in my remarks.
I think
the
you got
one,
most of them.
the one I didn't touch is, what can our citizens do to help improve Delray Beach schools? As I mentioned earlier, you guys have been great as a community. One ask I have of every meeting I go to is just, if you see before you send a child to school, if they show any signs of illness, please don't send them to class. And we're just trying to reinforce that message, because this Delta variant is presenting differently than the Alpha variant. It's not just a fever and a cough. It could be a runny nose and upset stomach. It's a whole litany of symptoms. So we're trying to get that message out. We're really encouraging everyone 12 and above to get vaccinated. We've got a couple partnerships. We're going to be working with the healthcare district. They're going to be sending out their mobile vaccination mobile out to our high schools over the next 3 weeks. We're going to invite students from the middle schools to join as well. And we're hoping that'll encourage more families to have their students vaccinated. the parent does have to be present with the student unless they're 18 or older. And we're also, we've added a couple of testing sites, working with the Department of Health. We're going to have, that's been one of our challenges, that we have both teachers that want to get tested to make sure they haven't been exposed. And also we have students that once we have sent them home and they need help, getting access to tests so that they can get back in school. So the Department of Health has been generous. We're going to have a couple testing sites, one on the east side of the coast up here at the Chuck Shaw Technical School, and then one out in the Glades at the West Tech. And those programs are getting underway. And that's something I'm continuing to work on as far as how to get more tests readily available in our schools. And we're also looking to partner with some private firms. But as far as what you can do for us, just please keep supporting us. You guys you kind of lead the county in many areas in that regard. And it's greatly appreciated.
Oh, I'm so glad you noticed. Thank you for that. We do have a very strong Delray Chamber Education Fund, which is our own nonprofit that helps schools. And I think that someone sitting in this room with me had a question. Was it you, Jim, or Mike? Okay, Mike Caruso has a quick question for you.
Hey, Superintendent, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
Good. I just wanted to know, what are we doing for the 4,000 students that are sent home? And I'm sure there's going to be many, many more. They're going to be missing, about 2 weeks of school typically. And we don't want them to fall behind. We know how 2 weeks of school can really set you way behind.
So we're making sure the teachers, most of them are using their Google Classroom, which is an online tool that we used last year. If they're not doing that, they're emailing the work home to the students, but most are using a Google Classroom. So we're doing that. We have what kind of like a homework hotline. We have teachers dedicated to those students at home. If they have a question as they're trying to keep up with their assignments, they can call the school and get some help. And we also have on a voluntary basis right now, teachers that are turning on the cameras using the technology that we had in place last year for distance learning, turning on their cameras so the students can kind of observe the lesson. And that's the piece I'm working to formalize a little bit more. I don't want to leave it to chance of just the good nature of our teachers that are willing to volunteer. So I'm working with the union and our academic leaders to set up a more structured program where we'd make sure that for kind of every grade level in class, that there's at least one recorded lesson each day that the students at home can watch. And then
that would be great, because I heard the cameras weren't going on as much as they should be, and that's a big concern. So
right, I couldn't mandate it unless I get an MOU with the union. So we're negotiating actually Monday morning, and I'm going to try to probably have to put some money behind it to make it worth their while. But that's where we're headed.
Well, good luck and welcome on board.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We also had a question that came up in the comments from Jennifer Thomason from Habitat for Humanity. Nice to see you, Jennifer. There are restrictions on the 5 million that you mentioned, and do you have any initial areas that you're going to focus on with that funding?
So yeah, it's actually 500 million.
Okay.
So
even better.
It's in some big buckets, right? There's the first bucket's kind of just the cost of COVID. So we've been doing a lot of enhanced cleaning. We're putting out disinfecting wipes, MERV 13 air conditioning filters, all that stuff just to try to keep our buildings safer. That's kind of one big bucket. There's a technology bucket where we bought another 30,000 Chromebooks for our kids this summer. We're repairing. I've got about 5,000 right now that we're repairing because unfortunately the kids are a little rough on them. So there's a technology component. There's also a air quality ventilation. We're going to put probably about 90 million of that money into trying to do some long-term improvements to our HVAC systems that will provide more, purification of the air, whether it's and we're working through the best way to do that, if it's UVC or there's, different equipment, but we want to kind of instill that in our major system. So it's just something that's here for the long run. On the short term, we bought 13,000 HEPA filters to enroll those out to all of our classrooms. They're portable. And we still have a little work to do in some of our larger rooms, like with the cafeterias and auditoriums. So there's kind of the air quality, but more than half the big bucket, more than half that money is going to be on the academic side. And that's academic loss or social emotional needs. And most of it being academic. So I mentioned the 350 teachers, they'll be in place for 3 years, more robust tutorial programs, both with our staff and likely with contracted providers, because we just need more bandwidth. And then we're going to continue to We still have a good chunk of that money. We haven't really designed exactly how we're going to use it yet. And that's some of the work ahead of us. But we're, so anyway, and it'll be with us for 3 years. And it's going to allow us to do a lot of things where, some of it's instructional materials, it's online programs for the kids that they can go online and kind of study at their own pace and catch up on things. So it's going to be like a whole array of kind of academic supports, with the goal to be that after 3 years, we've recovered from the impact of this pandemic. And I will tell you, it's significant. The test scores last spring proved that out. And while Palm Beach did well and we outperformed the state and we outperformed the large districts in many areas, kids in general across our county, state, and country fell behind. And that's not to every student. Some students may have excelled, but as a collective, English language arts fell about 4 or 5%, and math fell about 15%. And math, we learned, was very hard to teach in this Zoom environment. You really need the teacher in person. So great question. Thank you.
It is. Well, we also have another question from Seth Mitchell. And he said, with the great influx of population of Florida over the past 2 years, which has really happened, have you seen the impact on the schools in terms of capacity and changes to process and procedures?
Well, capacity, in some areas of the county, we're growing really fast, and capacity is a challenge. By and large, we have plenty of seats, but they're not always exactly where we need them. Right now, our enrollment fell about 6,000 kids due to the pandemic. And most of those kids are now in virtual ed or in home education, where parents just didn't feel safe, bringing them back to school. So our enrollment's down a little bit. I'm hoping that will change as if the COVID-19 will loosen its grips on the community. We'd like to get our schools to full capacity. So we're doing okay. There's some pockets I know in the south end of the county, in Boca, we did have some schools that came in over projection, and we're building some new schools. We've got a 10-year plan where we'll be adding a few campuses here and there, but capacity is not too bad. Our demographics are changing. We're now about 37% of our students are Hispanic, and that's the fastest growing segment of our population. So we need to provide more dual language. It'd be nice to have more teachers that are bilingual, and our ELL program is something we'll probably have to continue to ramp up.
Okay. That's excellent. Well, excellent questions from our viewers. Is there anything else before we let a very busy Superintendent Burke get back to work on his first month in? He's like, is a month and a day or something?
That's my tagline, Burke at work.
There you go.
But so you got a great guest coming up next with Dino. I used to reach out to Dino when I was the budget director, and he was very gracious in getting me the tax rolls, because that's that drives our revenue quite a bit. So
I know it's all really interconnected. The more I learn about our community, the more I realize that it is all connected, and super timely as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to probably have you back earlier in the new year as well to just get a recap of how everything's going. We like to have a big town hall via Zoom, so we'll bring you back soon, I hope.
That sounds good. Thank you all. I'll see you later.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
So, well, Dino already got a great introduction from Superintendent Burke, but if you're like me and you're a homeowner in Palm Beach County, you're going to be getting your taxes pretty soon. And Dino always has, and everyone at Dorothy's department has super interesting information about what's happening with respect to your property taxes. So Dino, are you ready to give us a quick overview?
Yes, I'm ready. So the first thing I want to say is that I'm just gonna, can you see?
But you might want to pull down your screen. I can only see your nose.
Can you see me? How about now?
Nope.
No?
You've done this before. There you go. Okay.
All right. So the first thing I want to do is talk to you about the trim notice. And what is the trim notice? The truth to millage. So hopefully you guys got this in the mail, right? The trim notice.
Yes,
And
I remember that.
You didn't do this. Throw it away. Hopefully you looked at it, because it's very important. You throw away your first right as a taxpayer to know about what your taxes are. So the bottom line is that when you got the trim notice, hopefully you opened it and you didn't go to the green section of the trim notice. Let me share my screen real quick. To the section, to the multicolor section. You see the screen now? My screen?
It's on its way. There you go. We got it.
Okay. So hopefully you didn't go to the multicolor section, because if you did, that's the first mistake as a taxpayer. Hopefully, what you should have done is you should have went to the blue section. And if you have a problem, you have to look at and see what the value is. And if the value is correct and all this information on the blue is correct, then the issue is not with the property appraiser's office, because we are a function of the tax bill, but we don't set the rates as a tax on the tax bill. We're just a function of it. So what the next step you should do is then go to the second side of the trim notice and look at the multicolor section. The multicolor section, there's all these colors: gray, the yellow, and the green. The green section of the tax bill is the most important section of the trim notice. Why? Because the green section is the proposed tax rate. The taxpayers cannot increase their rate higher than what column 3 is. So if you want to get a good estimate on how much taxes that you're going to pay in November, then you want to look at column 3 and then add up the ad valorem and the non-ad valorem, and then that's what your supposedly taxes are going to be in November. But most likely they're going to have meetings, and if the blue section of the tax trim notice is correct, it's not the value, it's the taxes, then over to the right of the green section, you're going to see numbers for the taxing authorities to call to go to various meetings to complain about the millage rate. So sometime in November, your taxes are most likely going to be between the yellow column, which is the rollback column, and the green column. So that's your range. So the green and the yellow, because a lot of times the taxing authorities will lower their rates from the proposed rate. So it will give you some relief on the taxes. But the most important thing is that when you look at the trim notice, don't assume because you pay higher taxes that we're going to call the property appraiser and try and lower the value to lower the taxes, because you have to make sure, if everything on the notice is correct and you still don't like the taxes, which I don't like anyways myself. But if you don't like the value of the property, you think the value is too high, then what you should do is to call our office, and then there will be numbers on the trim notice. On the insert, there's their phone numbers, and I'll show. Let me see if I can find that page. I don't have the insert page, but on the insert page, on the notice, you'll see on this shared screen here, I have a proposed notice insert screen, and then right there'll be phone numbers for our office. Then call and make an appointment to talk with your appraiser, and then if you still don't agree with our value, then the next step would be to file a petition. And then that's when the next important date on the trim notice is the petition filing deadline. So make sure that you file, if you have an issue with us and it's not tax related and it's value related, then you can talk to us. If you still don't agree, make sure you file a petition by the petition deadline. And
When's that? Is that the same for
petition
everyone?
deadline this year is September 13th at 5 o'clock. And you can either go to our website, and if you go to the website, I think there is a scroll box that will see the 2021 notice of proposed property tax. You click on that and you'll get the 21 notice of property tax and assessment page that you're seeing on my screen. And then there's some boxes which you can click for the value adjustment board, and it will take you directly to the value adjustment board section, and you can file an appeal there if you want. But if you're at our office and you talk to the appraiser and then you don't like what we're saying, or we don't lower our value or whatever, then you can file an appeal, and then you don't have to follow through with it, because the only thing that the appeal does is to give you a voice. So if the property appraiser says, oh yeah, we'll take a look at it, and you file an appeal, and then we decide, oh yeah, the value should have been lower, you can always withdraw your petition. So that gives you the right anyways. But you, first of all, when you get the notice and you don't like the value, call our office. That's the most important thing.
Okay, so my quick question is, obviously, everybody knows that the real estate market has been very hot and prices have gone very high. Is our assessed value going up this year?
Well, yeah, because the assessed value will go up mostly every year because of the recapture rate, the 3% cap on the homestead, and it will also go up on the 10 cap as well. It's on non-homesteaded property. So there was the 10 cap law, which means that we cannot increase the property more than 10% on non-homesteaded or non-residential properties that don't have the homestead on it. And on homesteaded property, if your market value is equal to the assess, then you may have an increased taxes, and you may have an increased taxes because one, the market is increased, or and then the next scenario is that if the market still increased, but your assessed value increased because of the cap, then that's another issue. But by law, we have to recapture the difference between the assessed value and the market value. So most likely, everybody at least that had a homestead had like a 1.4% increase in homesteaded property based on the cap.
We'll take that, because everybody's property went up far more than that. So it's nice that we're able to cap it. And
Right.
Christina Morrison, who's very, very well known in real estate around these parts, wanted to remind everybody that the portability program for primary residences saves thousands on your taxes. So if this is your primary residence, you absolutely have to homestead your property, so your taxes will be limited in what they can go up.
Yeah, and that's important, is the portability. You have to establish your homestead. Like if you sell your home and then you buy a new home, you have to establish your homestead within, I think this year the law would change to 3 years. Within 3 years, but you can port your value anytime you want. So that's the big thing.
Yeah, that's important. Just to reiterate. So if you move houses within the county, obviously, you're able to sign up for portability, and you can take that tax rate with you to the next one. So that's super important. And not everyone knows that. Yeah, there's a limit on the amount of time. I think you said it's up to 3 years.
Well, you have to file homestead within that period of time.
Okay.
But you can port anytime. You can use your port value anytime.
And it does save you thousands.
Yes,
I was able to do that. So
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding us of that. No, it's very timely information, and it's important for everybody to know this. So does anyone have any questions that they want to ask Dino? We've got the expert here. Ask him now.
Dino,
Yes,
it's Mike. How are you?
Go ahead, Michael.
Hey, fine. How you doing?
Good. So who do you think has more information these days? Zillow or the property appraiser?
Well, I would like to say the property appraiser's office. We are a good source of information, and Have you looked at our website? You've been using our
No,
website?
oh, no, it's interesting to me because by far in the last decade, you were way out in front of the, public information. It was amazing what you found and how you found it and how you're great in terms of your technology. It just seems in the last 10 years, and people, you're going to have a new situation on your hands. People are tapping buttons and saying, no, this is what my house is worth. I think it's interesting because I think the estimates are going to be larger than what your estimates are. And I think that'll keep people away from your door, but there will be a few that are less. But I just thought that keeping up with technology, is that one of the hardest parts of your game?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because nowadays everybody wants instantaneous information, and we try and do that. And on our website, if a property has sold, you're going to see the owner information the next day. It goes nightly. If you had an issue with any, say, we forgot to add a room, for instance, and then there's a section on the website where you can type in, hey, you forgot to do my bedroom. Then we'll go out and look at it. But if we make that correction, you'll see it that day. The only thing that you won't see is the value side of it. And we only do the value side at mostly 3 times a year. And one of the times is trim notice time. The next time is the tax bill. So we're going to update the system most likely November or October 31st, just when the tax bills go out. So you guys can look at your tax bills. And the next time will be when all the value adjustment boards has been completed and the final roll is, then that's when the next time you will see the values. But currently we don't have any running values on our website.
Hey,
One
I have a
other-
quick,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Michael. Oh, there was a quick
No, we
question
got
that
more questions. I know we got a tight agenda, so let's get going.
So we have a question from Lisa, and it was, why would my assessed value be different for the school district than for all other taxing authorities?
Well, that's a good question, because the voters voted in a second homestead. And the second homestead was the additional $25,000. And this additional $25,000 applied if your property value was 50,000 to 75,000, and then anything greater than 75,000, you got an additional 25,000. However, the additional $25,000 does not apply to the school board. So that's why you don't see the additional 25,000 under the school line item. You only see the $25,000 exemption.
Okay. I knew we had the right expert on board to answer that. So I know it's complicated. Are there any other questions for Dino? Okay. And tell me, can everyone hear me? Because you guys look frozen to me.
No, we can see you.
Okay, good. Just checking. Thank you so much, Dino. Is there anything else you want to tell everyone? How can we reach you?
Well, you can reach me by going to the website. They have my number on there, or you can reach us on the website at www.pbcgov.org/papa. There's a feeder there, or you can call me at 561-355-2681.
Wow, thank you for that information. Now everyone knows your phone number. Thank you.
All right.
But you're always
thank you for having
available.
me. I appreciate it.
You're always available, and we really appreciate you. So Steve, thank you for putting that in the chat so everybody has the website. That's great. And thanks for coming on, because this is super timely information. I'm glad
All right,
that you
thanks,
were here
Steph.
today.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Great. So last but not least, we have our new city manager, Terrence Moore, who's literally been on the job for, I think he said, a month and a day. And if you haven't had the pleasure to meet him, I'm glad you're going to get to meet him now. I was really lucky enough to be on the citizen panel that got to interview the candidates for city manager. And by far and away, he was the best candidate. We had all agreed, as did the city commissioners who voted 5-0 for Mr. Moore, as well as the city staff and the department heads all felt the same way. So he's coming in open arms to this town, and he's got a lot to do. So I want you to get to know him like I've got to know him over the various times I've heard him speak. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Moore and have him introduce himself to all of you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. So good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. Prior to 8 o'clock, I did have an opportunity to say hello to a number of you all. And quite frankly, as I make my rounds throughout the community, various engagements, speaking to different boards, offering my opportunity to say hello and greetings, it's been fantastic. But quite frankly, although I've been on board literally for 1 month and 1 day, so I'm a pretty capable numbers person, ladies and gentlemen. So oftentimes, if you hear me speak, I oftentimes address comments via analysis, via data, dates, etc. That's just my natural inclination. So please bear with me in that regard. But quite frankly, despite the nerdy disposition, it can be rather entertaining. And a lot of people have been able to enjoy that as I've gone along throughout my career. So 1 month, 1 day, Monday, August 2nd. And here it is, Friday, September 3rd. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it feels as though I've been on board for a lot longer than 1 month and 1 day, given the dynamics and opportunities here in the city of Delray Beach, Florida. Quite frankly, I'm having an excellent time. It's been tremendous, extremely productive, yet at the same time, a number of opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. So a little bit of background information. My coming to Delray Beach, Florida is actually a return to the state of Florida, as my first 2 leadership positions took place in the state of Florida. First of all, in the 1990s during my 20s, as an assistant city manager in Deerfield Beach, Florida, 2 cities to the south. Then, of course, Sebastian, Florida, where I served as city manager for 6 years, which is my first city manager position. And much like being a school superintendent or a chief executive of a hospital, district, whatever the case may be, the city management profession is an itinerant one. And the profession has taken me to other parts of the country as well, serving in roles to this effect in New Mexico, West Virginia, and having just been concluded 8 years of consecutive service in College Park, Atlanta, Georgia. So where I concluded tenure this year in 2021, now here I am in Delray Beach, Florida. And quite frankly, I try my best to identify opportunities in which my background and experiences overall are consistent with the hopes, desires, and opportunities of a community moving forward. So in the case of Delray Beach, a number of opportunities to achieve and contribute are consistent with background and record of achievement I've been able to make in some of the aforementioned cities I talked about. So Delray Beach, of course, given the various opportunities to achieve, my initial observation is that the greatest challenge has to do with the fact that there has been some instability here in the office of a city manager for about the past 10 years. So quite frankly, that is a concern for a number of people who had expressed interest in joining the city of Delray Beach, Florida to take on this particular opportunity. However, as the city of Delray Beach received somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 proposals from professionals around the state, around the country, to be considered for this particular opportunity, I think you have a lot of brave men and women out there who have an interest in serving this particular community. Likewise, to be in this particular role as a city manager, as a superintendent of schools, as a chief executive officer of a hospital district, one has to demonstrate a certain level of courageousness in order to move forward, in order to be effective in this regard. So in every community I've served to date, as I've shared with Stephanie, as well as during the interview process back in June, it's always been my philosophy and practice to become a resident and a homeowner of each community that I've served. I had the opportunity and privilege to speak during the Champions of Education breakfast Thursday, August 5th, and I spoke proudly about the fact that I was able to successfully secure a contract to purchase a home here in the corporate limits of Delray Beach. And I was able to successfully close on that home 9 days ago, Wednesday, August 25th. So I feel like I'm at home now, truly. I felt weird the first few weeks or so driving around with a Georgia license plate on my car. And I was able to get that all taken care of pretty quickly as far as my driver's license, license plate, title for my vehicle, all those particulars, so that I can demonstrate to the community, hey, here I am at home, Delray Beach corporate limits, I have my driver's license, it's truly official. Despite the dynamics, despite how busy it's been this first month on board, I really feel situated and comfortable. I just have a lot of unpacking to do to get squared away personally at my new home. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty well in good shape, and I'm extremely grateful to be here. So as far as my initial focus in Delray Beach, it actually began back in June, July. The conclusion of the selection process for the city manager position was finalized Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. So myself and the other three candidates were here for this particular consideration, June 6th, June 7th, and to June 8th. And as Stephanie eloquently pointed out, the city commission were unanimous in their selection, which I'm extremely grateful. So a lot of the questions, of course, come about relative to the concerns regarding stability. So since the departure of David Harden in 2012, who's the city's longest serving city manager at 22 years from 1990 to 2012, a tremendous accomplishment, record of achievement as a result of such a lengthy tenure. You've had 5-6 individuals who served as either interim city manager or permanent city manager since 2012. So for the past 9 years, an element of instability. So part of my background includes the fact that my last city manager position, College Park, Atlanta, Georgia, I served that particular role for 8 consecutive years. And at 8 consecutive years, I am the longest consecutively serving manager in that city's history. And interestingly enough, the 8 years prior to coming on board in that particular organization and community had experienced a similar level of instability, much like Delray Beach had the previous 9 years. So from the years 2005 to 2013, for instance, College Park, Georgia had experienced somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 individuals who served as either permanent or interim city manager during that short period of time. And yet I was able to bring stability in that regard. So at 8 years, interestingly enough, it's a pretty decent tenure, not like David Harden's legacy or a few others out there, but still longer than average for the length of tenure to serve as a city manager in a community. However, the big interesting aspect of my experience in my most recent community is the fact that this was accomplished, ladies and gentlemen, with 1-year employment agreements. So a total of 8 employment agreements, 1 for each year of service. The first having been awarded in February 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I was able to offer 8 years of stability with the benefit of only 1-year employment agreements. So at the end of each employment agreement year conclusion, I was essentially in position having to lobby and work with the mayor and city council of that community to secure another renewal. And quite frankly, the last renewal, which took place last year in 2020, I simply advised the mayor and city council in that community that I would be pursuing other opportunities because, of course, the 1-year dynamic is inconsistent with the marketplace. Most city managers in the country receive either an open-ended contract or either a multiple year contract. Much more opportunity for stability, much more opportunity to be involved in the community and to make contributions respectively. So at the 8 years of tenure in that particular community, my last tenure, I was able to offer a tremendous record of achievement and many contributions as a result, as if I had a long-term opportunity to do so. And I simply made the best of it, despite the 1-year dynamic that I've just outlined. So after the selection process in June 8th, again, unanimous. And also what I do not have to be concerned about here in Delray Beach is the contract for city manager services is an actual open-ended. In other words, there's no expiration date. So the fact that that is the case contractually, and also the mayor and city commission were unanimous in their selection, not to mention the direction I've recently offered myself to establish permanent residency and become a homeowner. All that's being done to achieve a long-term commitment to offer stability in the office of the city manager, both personally and professionally, is being achieved on part of myself. And again, thanks to the commission in their unanimous selection process, that makes me feel very comfortable, very fortunate, very grateful for the opportunity. Thus, it's easy for me to be upbeat, positive, and optimistic. That is my natural disposition as a person and as a professional, as a happy, cheerful individual. Yet at the same time, I have good reason to be grateful and appreciative for the opportunity to serve Delray Beach as not only your city manager, but as a stakeholder in the community. So with that, there's much work to do. There's much to be accomplished. So my initial focus for the city of Delray Beach after being given the opportunity, number one, the proposed budget process, of course. In any municipality, ladies and gentlemen, without a good, solid budget policy or budget recommendations moving forward, there isn't much else, correct? Because that's the hallmark of being able to lead daily operations as well as advancing the goals and objectives of the elected board, in this case, the city commission. So after the selection process concluded June 8th, I actually felt as though I was working from home because of the various issues and challenges of Delray Beach. I ended up spending a great deal of time speaking to individuals, engaging with staff members to really get my arms around where we are as a municipality in this regard. So that along the lines of the July 13th City Commission meeting, in which there was a discussion about a preliminary $10.7 million budget deficit in terms of proposed considerations for the upcoming fiscal year. So of course, as a fairly capable numbers person, public finance, budgeting, et cetera, my interest was to offer leadership and guidance to that effect as quickly as I possibly can. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, coming on board during the first week, we were able to execute a number of ideas to resolve that particular challenge. Likewise, by the time of the first budget workshop meeting or hearing, so to speak, having taken place Tuesday, August 24th, we were able to offer a balanced budget recommendation, including a number of efficiencies and operations having been introduced during the first few weeks of service, as well as the opportunity to demonstrate core competencies as noted without having to tap fund balance. So the current proposed budget does offer considerations without yet having to identify fund balance reserves as a way to help achieve a balanced budget recommendation. Much of that became possible again as a result of identifying efficiencies in operations, striking a balance in terms of level of service expectations. And thankfully, Mayor and City Commission were very supportive in understanding the basis of the recommendations moving forward in that regard. So I'm really happy about that. Notwithstanding, however, there may be some financial impacts as a result of current labor negotiations with the local chapter of the Police Benevolent Association. We also in the process of finalizing considerations with the SEIU local chapter as well. So we hope to get that all squared away over the next few weeks in time for the beginning of the new fiscal year, because it's been my position to have labor union agreements all squared away, timely taken care of. And hopefully the leadership of the respective unions will support those sentiments as well. Another concern initially, as I prepared to arrive to Delray Beach, Florida, was of course the situation associated with COVID-19, the impacts to the community, the impacts to the operation, and what leadership and guidance needs to be offered to get to the absolute best place possible. So quite frankly, during the month of July, I did spend a great deal of time benchmarking with other communities, much of which was motivated or encouraged by a legal precedent that was set at Indiana University, whereby Indiana University in academia, of course, they made the decision to direct required vaccinations for students, faculty, staff, all others preparing to arrive back to campus in the fall of 2021. So there was a legal challenge associated therein. However, their decision was upheld legally. From that, a number of other municipalities around the country, including Los Angeles, California, New York City, New York, Orange County, Florida, and Fulton County, Georgia, from where I just left, had initiated vaccination requirements. I do not wish to use the term mandates. However, there are some balances that needed to be struck in that regard. So my concern in the relationship to Delray Beach is looking at the analysis, looking at numbers. A number of employees were actually directly impacted by the raft of COVID-19. And of course, that created a number of issues and challenges for both the organization and the community. You, in essence, had a number of environments in the workplace that had been regarded as unsafe. So for that reason, the numbers were a little bit alarming in terms of the number of employees and individuals who have been impacted in that regard. So given the precedents having been set by a few other municipalities and organizations around the country, I began cultivating probably a week or two prior to my arrival the possibility of a COVID-19 vaccination and testing initiative, whereby borrowing from the playbooks of some of the aforementioned communities I just discussed, we were able to formalize considerations administratively here for the city of Delray Beach, Florida. So my weekly report to the city commission today actually highlights some progress and statistics in that regard. At the beginning of the tenure, literally Monday, August 2nd, 2021, in terms of employees submitting vaccination records, it was actually a very low number, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10% of general employees who actually submitted vaccination records at that particular point in time. So first day of service, given the legwork that was initiated prior to my arrival, my research and getting my arms around some considerations to get to the best place possible, the introduction of the City of Delray Beach Employee COVID-19 Vaccination and Testing Initiative became known. And of course, speaking with officials representing the City of Delray Beach on an individual basis to discuss the merits of that consideration, they were very much supportive of not only the merits as noted, but the fact that my interest was to offer leadership and guidance as quickly as possible so that we can get our arms around creating the safe work environment we possibly can, not only for the benefit of employees, but quite frankly, residents and stakeholders as well, because Delray Beach, like many other municipalities, owns and operates numerous municipal facilities, parks and recreation environments, and other amenities that the community love and appreciate. Therefore, the interest is to make sure we do as much as we possibly can to ensure that every facility, every operation, every environment is safe as possible. So with the initiation of the COVID-19 vaccination and testing approach we just discussed, great outcomes were actually achieved. So as I will be reporting via the City Commission information letter today to be circulated this afternoon via online link Office of the City Manager page, of all general employees of the City of Delray Beach, the record of vaccination is in the neighborhood of about 85%. So we've made significant progress in that regard. I think this was simply a case of employees, leadership in the organization, simply desiring city manager's office to offer guidance to get to the absolute best places possible in that regard. So of course, we had a few individuals who questioned the validity or the necessity to move in this particular direction. But given the statistics I've just communicated and the fact that a number of employees rose to the occasion to get to the best place possible of being healthy and safe, we've done extremely well in that regard. And I'm extremely proud to be able to share that background information with any and all concerned. Likewise, there is a separate category for the Delray Beach Fire Rescue Department, which their numbers are about 80%. And that's part of today's report to the Mayor and Commission as well. So I think we've judged correctly in those regards, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely thankful and proud that the men and women serving the City of Delray Beach were able to acknowledge and support the leadership and guidance we've just outlined with respect to COVID-19. And again, this is good information for residents and stakeholders as well, because literally the City of Delray Beach is one of the few cities in the country that has taken this leadership position. And quite frankly, we're able to share our story with other municipalities in other parts of the state, including South Florida and possibly in other parts of the United States as well. So again, very thankful for what we've been able to achieve in this regard. The proposed budget process, maintaining the same millage, given Dino's commentary a little while ago. Millage rate is to not change in that regard, but of course, as property valuation continues to increase in that regard, there may be some other opportunities following year to achieve some solid budget and financial considerations as we get to that place as well. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I think we only have a few minutes remaining for this morning's program. However, I will be more than happy to address any specific questions or concerns. Otherwise, I thank you for having me. I hope you all appreciate the genuine, sincere, and enthusiasm I do share for this particular role. And likewise, we hope to continue moving forward as we get to the best place possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, City Manager Moore. I don't want people to underestimate what you're taking on here. So not only are you coming in with staff and city manager turnover, budget shortfall that you've had to work on, COVID-19 in hurricane season, and then the homegrown issues of, the water situation that's ongoing and drama surrounding Old School Square. It's a lot to take on and it's a superhuman effort. So I think everybody needs to be aware of everything that you have on your plate and don't want to spend up too much of your time, but we're very appreciative to have you on today to be able to speak to everyone. So I know you only have a couple of minutes before you have to run. So quickly, does anyone have any questions? And before you answer, how can they reach you if they have further questions?
Absolutely. So role and function of being a city manager is 24/7. So first of all, I like direct email contact. So my email address is more@mydelraybeach.com. Again, more, my last name, at mydelraybeach.com. And the office phone number is area code 561-243-7015.
Okay, we'll put that in the chat too for people. Thank
Hey,
you.
Stephanie,
Yes.
I think it's unfair to put city manager Moore on the spot for this. First of all, if you have a teleprompter in there, city manager Moore, I want it. That was a great delivery. So thank you very much for that.
Thank
Second
you.
of all,
No teleprompters involved, no notes, straight from the heart, mind and soul.
That really was a amazing presentation for us.
You're too kind.
So what we'd like to do, we're going to keep you from the hard questions. Tell us about the pictures behind you that you've put up. Who's there?
Oh, goodness gracious. So I'm a father of two sons. So they were actually here back in July helping me to purchase my home. So I have a son, Parker, who's Dean's List at Texas A&M University, and his little brother, who is a high school football player in Fort Worth at Eaton High School. So they'll be back here in their second home in Delray Beach, winter break.
That's
Excellent.
great to see. And so we wanted to keep you off the spot. We also wanted to inform you that in that speech, you said more words than City Manager Harden said in the 21 years he was here. But
I don't know about all that, but okay.
it's not because you're verbose. It's only because he was the admiral. And,
Yes.
and that's what he was. So welcome aboard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate that. And again, I'm available for a couple other minutes. I have no concerns about any of the hard questions. So if you don't mind, Stephanie, if you all do have a couple minutes available, I'm more than happy to be responsive. Again, that's my role and responsibility. So please do not be concerned about that. I appreciate everyone's hospitality and support in that regard, because again, much work to do. Feel like I've been on board a lot longer than I actually have. And that's quite all right. So please do not be concerned about that. If anyone has any questions or concerns offline, feel free to give me a call. I just provided my information, as I really love to engage with people pretty readily. That's consistent with my background and experience to date as a city manager. So again, I highly welcome it.
Mr. Moore, it's Jim Chard. Good to see you again.
Yes, long time no see, 2 days ago.
Yeah, right. It's a pleasure seeing you all over town.
Yes, thank you.
I'd like to address a question on what Stephanie referred to as the drama of Old School Square. And the way I'd like to approach it is the complexity of the solution that you have to come up with. Old School Square, as I'm sure you're now well aware, has lots and lots of moving parts to it. There's a theater, there's a museum, there's an amphitheater, there's a park. And one of the key parts of that is external money that comes in to fund all of that, other than any subsidy from the city. And my question to you is, as you're putting together an RFP and soliciting input, which I've seen through your memo, how do you envision that there is one organization that can do all of that, manage all of those different kinds of venues, and at the same time, bring in literally millions of dollars to keep it at the level that it's been at?
Of course, and that's a great question, because initially when I was able to get my arms around the situation, that was the first question I asked myself. So an organization who would have the capacity to make themselves available, willing and able to make the investments to cover all the points you just talked about, Jim, that will not be accomplished for everybody. So quite frankly, I think what will occur once we initiate the selection process or the consideration process, a number of organizations will probably express interest, not realizing the complexity of the old school squirrel environment, to your point. So likewise, that will help the decision-making process moving forward, because only so many organizations will have that capacity to get their arms around the moving facets of the old school square environment. And what I made explicitly clear in my information letter report last Friday, August 27th, is quite frankly, the existing provider, the existing contractor, despite the direction having been recently offered. And I've advised the elected officials to this effect as a group and individually, because of the transparent process, because of the public process, they likewise have an opportunity to offer a response as well. So quite frankly, notwithstanding the myriad of concerns that have been expressed regarding financial transactions, issues and concerns and otherwise, they still likewise have an opportunity. And quite frankly, if there is a possibility that core competencies can be demonstrated while at the same time offering their background and experience in terms of being able to effectively administer the moving parts and the various facets of Old School Square, so be it. It will be worth the look. So I'm really excited to see organizations employ their ingenuity, to see how they'll be able to demonstrate their abilities and core competencies in this regard. But again, what I envision immediately or initially is that a number of organizations will say, hey, I would love to be a part of it. I think about some of the entertainment group, Live Nations or AGE, AEG, et cetera, those types of organizations. I spoke to people who may have represented, not so much represented those companies, but spoke about the merits of those types of companies coming on board. This process will help interested parties learn the specific complexities of Old School Square. And quite frankly, they will really have to be on the ball and be on point in terms of being able to adequately say, hey, we can make opportunities happen in this regard, to include economic impact because of the fundraising activities that are associated therein. So I'm really excited to see what happens in that regard. However, to answer the question, to conclude succinctly, a number of interests will be expressed, but that will be narrowed.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jen.
Okay, so I know we had a full schedule today, so thank you so much, City Manager, for joining us, and thank you for making yourself available to everyone as well.
Hey,
So
Steph,
I'm
we have a few city partners that are still on, so.
aware. So I'm going to forego my presentation. We put the September events for the chamber in the chat. We also heard from Elizabeth and Anthea and their Florida Planning Conference. So they've provided their planning and zoning information, which we're also putting in the chat as well, so you can have it. And I think we had Chief Sims on. Is he still
Yes.
there? Yes. I'm going to throw it to Chief Sims quickly, and then we'll hear from Kim from the CRA.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Hi, Chief. Yes, we got you. Hi.
Okay.
Good morning,
to
Chief.
all. It's indeed my pleasure being here this morning, and I do have some good news to share with you. First, let me give kudos to our community outreach team, who continues to do an amazing job out in our community. Those of you that's not familiar with the community outreach team, that's a joint operation between South County Mental Health and the Police Department, in which enables us to respond to situations in our community dealing with individuals that's suffering some type of mental issue. We're able to respond in the field, make assessments in the field, and provide the needed services in the field. That has worked out tremendously for us in the city of Delray Beach. That unit been in operation for approximately 1 year. And I listened to a lot of situations across the country who other departments and cities are trying to put situations and teams like this together, or they still contemplating. And we've been doing this for a year now, and it's been quite successful for the city of Delray Beach. Another unit that I would like to bring attention to is our community policing unit. Our community policing unit has done such an amazing job, even under the pandemic, under the circumstances in which we're facing this very day, by building and establishing those relationships throughout our communities, also working in our public school systems, working with the youth and the principals in the schools here in the city of Delray Beach, fostering those relationships as well, actually participating in the initiatives and the activities that's taking place in our schools here in the city of Delray Beach. Now, on another good note, I'd like to say up until July, the August numbers haven't been completed yet. As of July, crime is down approximately 19.75% here in the city of Delray Beach, which is amazing considering as well. But one concern I still do have is and we tend to forget from time to time, is the pandemic that's still taking place across this country when it comes to the overdoses. We've had in this country probably over 93,000 overdoses this year in this country. And here in the city of Delray Beach, as of August, we've had 189 here in the city of Delray Beach. And the police department has deployed Narcan approximately 49 times in the cases that we've responded to. And to show you how progressive we are here in the city, in 2014, as an assistant chief, I was allowed to implement Narcan here in our agency. We became the first in the county and the second in the state for police departments carrying Narcan. And the reason that was done because we had young officers responding to scenes, looking at individuals of the same age, basically dying just before them, and there was helpless, nothing that they're able to do. So by implementing the Narcan, it provides the individuals with a second chance at life. So that has been a tremendous program that this police department has implemented for the past few years. We hope to continue that program as stated. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have. Outside of we are still dealing with the COVID situation here in the city. Also, as a police department, we have approximately 10 people out currently, either due to a positive result or to contact tracing. So that's still in the forefront on how we conducting business, trying to keep not only the officers safe, but also the residents safe as well as we move forward.
Chief, that's an excellent report. That's a lot of good news, and we love to hear that. So well done of working under these super difficult conditions. We love our police department. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Kim is on from the CRA. She's put her CRA budget PowerPoint presentation in the chat. But do you have a few things you want to update everyone on, Kim?
Yes, I do. Good morning, everyone. Kim Fawn, CRA legal advisor. So we had our budget meeting on Tuesday, and as Stephanie mentioned, I put our PowerPoint presentation that is an overview of our projects in the chat. So if anyone's interested, you can take a look. It's very detailed and lays out all our projects. We also have a newsletter, which I would encourage everyone to sign up for and to follow us on social media such as Facebook and Instagram. That information is on our website. The Green Market is returning in October, and it'll be every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We also implement the same vaccination policy the day after the city issued theirs regarding our employees. So we're hoping to keep everyone safe and to stop the spread. And we also have 2 positions that we're currently hiring for, which is community liaison and program assistant. And we also encourage anyone that's interested or know anyone that's interested to come on our website and apply. And that's all I have.
That was great. Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing the PowerPoint presentation.
Can I add just one more thing?
Yes,
Quickly?
sir.
I would be remiss if I don't mention the ice cream truck that became a new addition to the agency. And I can tell you, it has worked wonders thus far, and is definitely doing exactly what it is intended to do. So I just wanted to put that out as well.
I love that. That's great. More good news from our police department. Thank you so much. So,
Hey, Steph, we have Marjorie Waldo on.
okay, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey, Marjorie, would you give us an update on the Arts Garage? You're doing such a great job there. Please fill us in. Did she leave?
I don't know, it's possible. We're running a bit over.
Well, Jackie Ramirez is on. Jackie, you want to give us an update on your great work with the small businesses?
Okay, I'm just gonna make it very quick and let you know that our regional, the SBDC at FAU was named the #1 team in the state of Florida last week. Yay. And that, those measures are funding that we brought to businesses, hours of consulting we submitted, sales that we helped increase, and so on. So we're very proud of ourselves. And we've also added a couple of new members, but what I'll do because of the time, I will just send out an email, let you know about them, give you a bit more detail. Okay.
That's excellent. I'm not surprised. And we're so proud to have you here at the Chamber. You're such a great resource to small businesses. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And that's, we could thank the CRA for funding that too. Thank you.
Yes.
We have Steve Wiseman on. Steve, you want to give us an update?
Pretty much Dino had everything that had to be said. Just to let you know, we are in the process of winding down the 2021 tax roll. We will shut our system down and roll over to 2022 sometime into the month. So that October 1st, we can send all the data to the tax collector, which means November 1st, guess what? Everybody gets their tax bills.
Terrific.
Thanks for the reminder. Okay.
Does Jim Chard want to fill us in on Delray Chamber Education Fund?
Just real quickly, I'd like to say that thanks to the generosity of donors and people who attended our breakfast, we are in the process of distributing checks to the 8 schools, $1,000 each for learning loss recovery. And Ted Hoskinson and I go from this meeting to start to deliver checks this morning. I have to say that the grant applications are very exciting, and that I look forward to sitting down with each and every principal and some of the teachers that have made the proposals. We have this one large check that we went to one school. The students grabbed it, marched around the room, holding up the check and singing "money, money, money." So they realize that what the DCEF and the Chamber have contributed to education in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Stephanie, I think that wraps it up. You want to wrap it up for us?
Yes, let's do. So we've gone a bit over, but thank you so much to our guests today, to Superintendent Burke, to Dino Maniotis, and to City Manager Moore. As I mentioned, the information will be on Facebook and up on the website as well if you need to review it. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And next month, we're going to be hearing from Jorge Pesquera from Discover the Palm Beaches to hear about tourism and how we've withstood the summer this year. It should be very interesting. Thank you for joining us.
Friday, October 1st.
Friday, October 1st. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.